What is up, guys? With Steam doing the Next Fest currently, with hundreds of demos going on, I've been playing a lot of them, and I thought I would bring you guys my favorite so far. And first up, we have VoidBreaker, which is a first-person shooter roguelike. You've probably seen that kind before, there's tons of them, but this one is pretty cool. I'm not a big roguelike fan, especially the shooter style of them. Played a few that I enjoyed, but it's definitely not my main genre of games. But this one is very fun. It's very fast-paced. I'm absolutely terrible at it, but it has a lot of little mechanical changes from the usual shooter genre that at least made it a little more interesting to me. You'll probably see it through the gameplay here, but there's a lot of picking up the objects in the world, chucking them around. The destruction of buildings in the world is very detailed and very cool. It's a main gameplay loop, being able to stun enemies through bringing down buildings on them and just general world destruction. The progression is a little low, but again, this is a demo, so there's only like 2 weapon options, though there is a lot of modifiers. The system for handling the modifiers is pretty interesting. It's through almost like a socket system. It has the usual things you'd expect from a roguelike, completing a wave or an area, zone, whatever, getting upgrades both for your weapon and for your character a little bit. But it's just fun. It's very fast-paced. I did one boss. I'm assuming there's only one boss in the demo, as I fought the same boss twice, but it was a pretty good fight. I barely won it first try, but it was a lot of fun. Overall, I would say VoidBreaker is a pretty solid, fast-paced first-person shooter roguelike, so if you're into those, I definitely recommend checking this one out, whether it's the demo currently going on, or check it out when it fully releases, because so far it seems very cool, and based on the intro, it sounds like it's a one-developer game, which is pretty impressive for what this game does and has even just currently. So definitely worth checking out, and go support the creator. Alright, and the next game on our list today is Morbid Metal, another roguelike, but this one is very different from VoidBreaker. This one is a hack and slash, loosely RPG action game rather than a shooter, and it is a lot of fun. It's probably my favorite demo I've played so far. It's just very fast, very fluid, though not to the point of being hard to follow and hard to learn. It's got some different abilities, different characters, so you have a bit of variety in how you play. I can definitely see where there can be a high skill ceiling between swapping characters mid-action and mid-combat, chaining up your abilities, and just going through a full rotation of skills effectively. I could see how someone more technical, who maybe likes fighting games a lot, could really enjoy this roguelike. For me, I played a little simpler because I'm not much of a fighting game player, but I had a lot of fun with it. The upgrades in the typical roguelike fashion ranged from fairly simple, increasing damage of skills, to modifying like the range of some skills, changing how a little bit of the abilities work. It didn't seem like there's too crazy of upgrades as far as like suddenly filling your screen with 1,000 projectiles or hitting the whole area with one strike. Nothing too insane. It definitely has a very like action game focus rather than being a power fantasy, as far as rather than like the Vampire Survivor style of roguelike. It definitely grounds itself in more action focus and skill, but it's a lot of fun. I was really enjoying this. I like the aesthetic of the game, having the different characters to switch through at a moment's notice. As you can see in the bottom left of the screen there, you use the D-pad if playing on controller, and you can just change character. Even, I want to say even during attacks and combos, you can basically just change it whenever you want, no cooldowns or anything weird like that. So you can definitely work that into your play style. switching abilities based on what each character does and what you need at the moment. But the combat is really, really solid. It feels good. The perfect dodge system is very satisfying with that slight slowdown and the counterattack specific to the perfect dodge, which you see me perform right there. It's very fun. I really look forward to this game releasing. This is definitely one I'm keeping on my wish list because I think it's going to be a really good game, especially if it continues as it is. Performance was also pretty good, even for being a demo. There was a little bit of like motion blurring on my end, even with like motion blur turned off, so I wouldn't say it was perfectly optimized, but I did have a fairly consistent frame rate running in like medium to high settings, and the game looks pretty good. I didn't have to tank everything in order to play the game stably. So I was very impressed with this demo, and I really look forward to the full release. And our third game today is a very interesting one. It is Warborne Above Ashes. It's a very strange game. It's a MMO mixed with gameplay of, I believe they say, a MOBA. I'm not a big MOBA player, and I'm a light MMO player, but this one kind of grabbed me. It was very interesting. It reminds me quite a bit in style of Albion Online, for those of you that have bothered to try that game. I have mixed feelings about that one, and I never played it very heavily, but it reminds me a lot of it. Basically, you pick a faction, you gather resources, you level characters, you pick the weapon and armor types that you plan to use, and then you go raid PvE camps, fight bosses that you can spawn with materials gathered, all to power up and level up your character, help your faction, and then go to war over a big map of fortresses and connected nodes to battle for your faction in a big war that apparently can be up to 100 versus 100 people. It's quite cool. I played it for probably 4 or 5 hours, just kind of casually enjoying it. You'll see some footage. I found some people from my faction and kind of ran around with them doing battle. I didn't get to experience a lot of PvP as there wasn't any major wars or anything I could really see going on, and I was still pretty low level, just kind of getting a handle on how to play the game. So I fought a couple of random enemy faction players that roamed into my area, and the PvP actually felt kind of cool. It's a very different style of gameplay from anything I usually play, so it was definitely an oddball, but I had fun with it. The abilities were kind of cool. Working as a team, especially with randoms, was kind of fun, and I'm not a big social gamer, so I tend not to play many MMOs or tend to play them solo. So it was kind of fun running around with a big group of people and like fighting bosses and big camps of enemies. And I imagine that big PvP battles would be similar and very cool. But it was really fun. It's very odd. It definitely isn't one I'd recommend to everybody. It's a very specific type of game. But I think for those of you that enjoy these big faction MMO style PvP games, I think this is going to be a big one. It seems very solid. Performance was great. I didn't have any performance issues. It honestly didn't even feel like a demo. It felt like just it's released and just doesn't have years of development behind it. I mean, it ran well, it played well. I really didn't have any issues with it, other than just being a very interesting style of game that I had to get used to. But it was pretty fun. I'd definitely either check this one out on the demo or keep your eyes on it. I'm not sure if it's expected to be a free-to-play game or a paid game. If it ends up being free-to-play, I'd say give it a shot. You know, it can't hurt to try, and it might be something that you spend hundreds of hours grinding and working for your faction in, which is always kind of a fun premise in a game, especially the social games. But yeah, I think it was very cool, and I had some fun playing it. Alright, and our last game for the day is Hunters Inc. Now this game is quite silly, but it is a lot of fun. The premise is basically that you and I want to say up to 3 friends, or maybe 3 players total, 3 or 4 players, whatever. You and your buddies can get out there as a bunch of orcs and hunt monsters. It has a very almost silly, like cartoon style a bit. Maybe it's not quite the right word, but regardless, it's just a very kind of silly game. You run around, you get ragdolled by things, you ragdoll things, you beat them up as one of, I want to say, 5 classes of orc, and it's a lot of fun, and you get rewards, you kind of Monster Hunter style, you get some materials from things that you have to pick up, and then you can upgrade your gear. The Monster Hunter style also extends to, like, the monsters you're hunting as you kind of track them around a map, and there's, at least right now, 2 different maps. But it was pretty fun. I had a good time just goofing off, even solo. I definitely could see this being a lot more fun in a group, just kind of working together to battle these big dinosaur monsters and then getting paid for it. The game does have a bit of humor, which you won't really get to see in this playing today, but the corporation you work for has some goblin overlords that are, or your handler, that are kind of funny. It's a very specific style of humor, but it's a lot of fun. I'll say it again, I really enjoyed just goofing off, running around and beating things with a hammer. It was simple, but it was a really good time. It definitely is a little bit more demo-y. Some of the textures are a bit underdeveloped, and, you know, animations are a little bit clunky, especially on the monsters, but it was just some good, solid, silly fun. Especially if it's a cheap game, I definitely recommend this one. I think this one could be a lot of fun just to goof off with some friends. It does look like it has the ability to have some more depth to it. There's some different like crafting and upgrade tables that just don't have access in the demo, but it does look like it could have some more content to it. And I mean, it's a Monster Hunter style. You keep adding new monsters, more weapons to fight them with, and people are gonna have fun as long as the gameplay is good. And the gameplay did feel pretty good. Feedback was decent from the mallet strikes, which is what I used. Fighting the little mobs running around the world was kind of fun. Picking up materials and then going back to forge upgrades. Pretty solid gameplay loop. Hard to go wrong. You can cut off parts of monsters. It's just a very fun game. I definitely recommend checking this one out and see if you guys will also enjoy working for the Hunters Incorporated.
I'm the toughest. Wake up, boys. Time for fighting.
Well, that does it for today, guys. That has been my 4 favorite demos from the Steam Next Fest. I appreciate you sticking around. I hope that some of these demos appeal to you. There's just a lot of good options. I spent way too long just kind of scrolling through this, and there's definitely some runners-up and some could be very fun, just a little clunky games in there, but there's a lot of fun stuff going on in this Next Fest demo-wise right now. I'd definitely get in there and see for the next, 4 more days, see if there's anything that really appeals to you, if what I had on the list wasn't quite to your flavor of gaming. But again, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye.